Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about the Sons of Behemat, an Age of Sigmar faction that has recently come into the spotlight thanks to a number of teasers and leaks that the community has rightly seized upon. But before we get into the detail of those leaks, let's answer the question, who are the Sons of Behemat? Well, Behemat, let's start with him. He was known as the World Titan or the Star Gargan, and he is a zodiac god beast. Now, these were monstrous beings of the mortal realms that existed above the natural order of things, and Behemat was a colossal creature of living stone. Just to give a sense of his size, his hand was about the size of an island, and the forest of the sprawl actually formed the hairs on his colossal toes. He was an absolutely enormous creature, as you would expect from something called a Titan. And to make a very long story short, Archaon sought to corrupt Behemat while he was slumbering and use him for his own purposes, and he came up with a really creative way of doing that, using the Skaven to sort of burrow beneath the earth and try and corrupt him that way, while also trying to get into his dreams and have that sort of mental corruption. And Sigmar, as you would expect, sought to stop him, sending storm hosts to cleanse the various regions of chaos corruption, and a massive battle broke out, and the fighting actually stirred Behemat from his sleep, causing massive earthquakes and earth-shattering fissures to appear while the conflict was raging. And eventually the Titan awoke and began to rage at what had happened to his lands while he had been asleep, and it all ended with the Celestant Prime himself having to put Behemat down once and for all. However, the legacy of Behemat has continued after his death, because some believe that the Ale Guzzler Gargants are descended from him. They're a race of giants who are more drunken brutes than anything else, and they stomp around the realms, destroying bits of the landscape and uprooting trees and the like that they find suspicious. Now, while some see them as a faction that is kind of equally as stupid as they are quick to anger, these brutes, some also believe that they were once a race of wise and strong builders that helped the free peoples construct cities and empires. And it's also said that they once stood at Sigmar's side, and the wisest belonged to his councils, helping him during the age of expansion and prosperity. So why have the Sons of Behemat come into focus more recently? Well, you may or may not remember, but in the Zotes preview video, they were actually mentioned by name as one of the ideas Games Workshop could consider, and they were waved off as a sort of they don't really exist, wink wink, nudge nudge suggestion. But nevertheless, it put all of this on the community's radar, and it's interesting that Games Workshop were the ones causing this. They weren't responding to speculation per se, they were kind of just coming out with it out the blue, again as a tongue-in-cheek reference. So yeah, it's interesting that they kind of started this speculation. But we've also more recently seen port manifest documents. Now, these are documents that capture things that are being shipped around the globe to different ports, and in them we've seen both references to battle tomes for Sons of Behemat and war scroll cards. And it's interesting that one of them refers to a description 20, and I wonder if that's referring to the quantity in a war scroll pack. So it could be that we actually see 20 different unit types for the Sons of Behemat, which would actually be quite a chunky battle tome in and of itself, given that previously we just saw them as Gargants. So hopefully there's going to be a lot of variety there. Now, these might seem like quite good pieces of evidence in and of themselves, coming both from GW in a sense, but also these very clear shipping documents. But we've also seen a few rumour engines that would seem to fit quite nicely into the idea that the Sons of Behemat are not too far away. And the first one I want to point out is this belly shield. Now, this could be something for Ogre tribes, but I believe it hasn't been claimed yet, even though we've had that more recent box set where the Ogre tribes made an appearance. So this could be a significant piece of armour for a Gargant. It could be a belly shield, a bit like the Ogre tribes, or it could be a more substantial armed shield. I think if you're going to have a faction of giants, you need them to be a bit more armoured than they are currently. So this one's a bit of a looser one, because again it does kind of overlap with the Moor tribes, but it would make sense for them to have gut armour like the Moor tribes do, and to maybe even have arm shields that are kind of similar in design. So one that could at least fit nicely into the Sons of Behemat. The other one is this wooden frame that has a Tavern Sign attached. Now, I simply reference the Tavern Sign because if that is anything to go by, the thing it's attached to is probably quite big, and it's hard to believe that unless it's a Stegodon or something like that, which we know it isn't, then it's got to be some other monstrous creature. So it could be a catapult version of a Gargan, or, you know, again, the sky's the limit with this one. I literally don't know what they could be, but nevertheless, the size is a big suggestion. So it could be whatever this is attached to is also attached to a Gargan. But the main one I want to point out is this stone pillar. Now, this might seem rather inconspicuous in and of itself, but it actually could refer to a character called King Brod, who is known as the last true son of Behemat. And I've put up a description from the Godbeast supplement that talks about King Brod, and I want to reference the second half of that, where it starts, wherever he goes, Brod carries a huge granite pillar, both his symbol of rulership and his weapon in times of war. The stony artifact was a part of the old Behematian temple, the once crested Torcrania, a monolithic structure toppled by Cyclopean mutants long ago. Now, to me, this kind of has to be, yeah, it's almost so close that I would put money on it. And yeah, you know, the fact that you've got this character with a stone pillar so close to Behemat himself, it's believed that he actually crawled out of Behemat's mouth. I don't know when that was necessarily, presumably after he died. And the fact that we've got this rumour engine, it just, to me, all of this is starting to lean very closely to the idea that the Sons of Behemat must be coming. I mean, you could almost say it's all but confirmed, but here we've got a clear link about how some of these things might come out and appear in a battle tome. Now, you might be asking yourself, why would we want to bring out a Gargan faction? And just to quickly address that, I think you have to look to the success of the Imperial Knights in Warhammer 40k. They are huge models, some of the biggest models we've ever seen on 40k tabletops, excluding Forge World, and they've been exceptionally popular, so much so that they've led to the launch of the Chaos Knights in time, which again have been equally popular. And I think Games Workshop's looking to Age of Sigmar to think, well, not only how can we push the boundaries of modelling to create bigger models, greater units in an era of monsters and deities, but also what can we do to create an equivalent to Imperial Knights in the Age of Sigmar? And I think the Sons of Behemat are going to be it. Again, I think if you're going to come up with an equivalent to Knights, you need to come up with different unit types, and, you know, stepping out of the current vanilla Gargan that we have is going to, you know, take a lot of work, but nevertheless, I think that's the basis for bringing this faction out now. Now, when would we likely hear about this? There's a lot of rumours, but when is a possible reveal going to happen? Well, I'm going to take a punt and say it's going to be Adepticon, which is the 25th to the 29th of March. And the reason I think that is because this is a perfect platform for new factions to appear. We know there is going to be a ton, literally a 2-hour presentation on pretty much every single game that Games Workshop produces. So it is a huge opportunity to come out with something big. But also, coming out with the Sons of Behemat at that particular event would literally live up to Games Workshop's claims that this will be the world's biggest Warhammer preview. Again, they're not afraid of tongue-in-cheek references, and you can't get much bigger than launching a faction of Gargans. So yeah, there's all the rumours, there's all the speculation, there's all the evidence, and there's the possible release date. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I personally would love to see the Sons of Behemat. I can't see a reason why anyone wouldn't want to see them, and it would be great to just add a, you know, I don't want to compare them to Knights because I think that's a bit unfair. They're a faction in and of themselves, but it'd be great to have a Gargan faction on the tabletop. You could say it might bring the same problems as with Imperial Knights, i.e. people might just collect, you know, armies and armies of them, and it might upset the meta a little bit and the experience of playing. But I think from certainly a lore perspective and certainly from a modelling perspective, it'd be great to see what Games Workshop can come up with. But let me know what you think in the comments below, and whether you can think of any other rumour engines or other pieces of evidence that might fit into this idea. And fingers crossed that Adepticon does become where we see this preview. But I want to say thank you as always for watching. Please consider subscribing and liking if you feel inclined, and I hope to see you in the next video. But until then, take care.